What's up, everybody? Wildman Wes here, and welcome to another edition of Worst State of Movies. Time to get in the aeroplane and head to our next state. We now travel to the state of Kentucky. For the film in question today, I'm going to preface something. I am not a connoisseur of rom-coms at all. I don't hate them, it's just I'm not really into them as I am other genres in entertainment. And I'm going to talk about this film as best as I can from the good reviews I've seen from people and the bad reviews. And I'm going to decide after talking about the film whether or not it is considered the worst movie made in the state of Kentucky. Today's film is 2005's Elizabethtown. So the premise of the movie is a shoe designer named Drew has an epic failure where he loses almost $1 billion worth of revenue for a company and he gets fired. His fiancée breaks up with him, he loses everything. And in the midst of losing everything, he decides maybe living is not for him. And while he plans on unaliving himself, his sister calls and lets him know that his father has passed away. Oof. Bad timing, I guess. Maybe good timing. Drew sets off to Kentucky where he can go find his father's remains to take back to California for his family to intern. While on the plane, he meets a very neurotic young girl named Claire who they spend a little time together and that's kind of it. And she gives him a map and her number, and when he gets to Kentucky and starts meeting a lot of his dad's former friends and also family members, there's the concept of what can go wrong will go wrong. A lot of crazy antics happen with this family and friends, just making him feel awkward. And he feels like he's a celebrity, but at the same time he feels like an outcast. And eventually he starts phone calling Claire, and they blossom into this will they, won't they relationship over the phone for the most part, and eventually while they're around each other. And when Drew finally decides to have his dad's remains sent back to California, there is a huge memorial service in his father's honor. His mom and his sister come to visit, and everybody has these moments of clarity of realizing that life is short and you need to start living your life as best as you can, doing things for yourself that you normally never would do. And when Drew is on his way back to California, Claire gives him this map that sends him all over the United States to get an idea of what it's like to live your best life. And also he can sit there and internally talk to his father about all the times that they could have had and the things that he misses about him. And at the end, Drew reunites with Claire, and I guess that they get together forever? I'm not sure. They leave it very open-ended. Okay, it's time to talk about what I like and what I don't like about this film. What I like about this film, they have a very decent cast. They have Orlando Bloom, Kirsten Dunst, they have Susan Sarandon, Bruce McGill, they have, let's see if my mind's... Judy Greer plays the sister. Jed Rees from, let's see, Galaxy Quest, Deadpool, The Ringer, character actor. He's definitely he's a very small character in this movie, but at the same time his presence is well known. He probably was one of the few parts of the movie that I actually liked. We're going to talk about what I don't like about this film. Now, as I mentioned before, rom-coms and melodramas aren't necessarily my jam, but I tried going into this with an open mind. However, when I went into this with an open mind, I definitely had a lot of ADD overload. There's a lot going on in this to the point where you don't know where to focus on. And what makes this even more difficult is the fact that most of this movie is based on montages. Now, going into that, there was a movie prior in this series, Battlefield Earth, that did slow motion overload. This was montage overload. Over half this movie was montages of from point A to point B and things going on in between. Now, don't get me wrong, it can help a plot in some aspects, but montages should be used for going back and thinking about moments that happened earlier on in a story. Not necessarily the whole entire plot. And a lot of this was due to the moments of Orlando Bloom's character driving through the United States, and also the moments where he's talking to Claire on the phone, building their relationship. Their whole relationship was based on a phone, and then again, 20 years ago, who would have thunk it that present day, what do? We're on our phones 24/7. Maybe they were trying to predict the future. I'm not sure, but all I know is it made me very, very uncomfortable. Speaking of uncomfortable, the dynamics of Orlando Bloom's character being more of an orderly control freak and Kirsten Dunst's character of being the free spirit, putting them together, especially how the story unfolds, it's very cringeworthy. It's very much... I just couldn't get into it. I really couldn't. And I tried. Believe me, I tried. Oh, man. Okay, time to rip the Band-Aid off and grade this film. I've done my best to weigh the good and the bad amongst each other and figure out what I feel about this movie. When it comes to rewatchability, I'm sure there are people that can watch this again. However, and I'm not saying this because I'm not a rom-com kind of guy, but it's more on the film critic standpoint. We're literally trying to watch this film and trying to figure out what the purpose and meaning was. I found none. Rewatchability, this was one of the biggest endurance tests I've ever had to do in my life. Sorry, not sorry, Elizabethtown. You have won the title of worst film made in Kentucky. At least on this platform right now. Well, folks, before the angry mob comes and catches me, we hope you enjoyed this episode for better or worse. If you've seen this movie and you agree with me, leave a thumbs up. And if you've seen this movie and you don't hurt me. But if there's things that you really appreciated about this movie, leave it in the comment section below. I like to know what people have to say about films that have inspired them, or even made them upset. That's just kind of my thing. If it wasn't, I never would have gotten a degree in college for film. Other than that, make sure you share on social media, push that little red button, and ring the bell for instant notifications. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Worst State of Movies. I hope. Take care.